My 8 years old son needed an operation. I asked my parents for help even though I'd been covering their bills for years. They claimed they were tight on money, but later I found they'd been blowing it out on my nephew's birthday. Hey Reddit, figured I'd finally share this mess I've been carrying around. I grew up in one of those families where you're expected to give and give, and if you ever stop, you're suddenly the villain. For years I kept quiet, paying bills that weren't mine just to keep the peace. Then one day, things blew up in a way I didn't see coming, and I had to decide if I was going to keep being the doormat or finally stand up. So this whole mess started because my kid had to get his appendix yanked out. Out of nowhere, he's doubled over on the couch, sweating, clutching his side, and we're rushing him to the ER at 2 in the morning. The kind of panic where your brain is moving faster than your body. He's 10. I'd been through stitches and fevers before, but nothing like that. They did the scans, told us it was appendix, and within a few hours he's on a gurney being wheeled away. Scariest damn thing I've ever seen. The hospital part went okay. He came out groggy but fine, which was the only thing I cared about in that moment. But then comes the bill, because of course it does. Insurance covered most of it, but I was short a couple $100 on the balance. And that month, it was already tight as hell. Not because I'm reckless with money, but because I was carrying double loads every month. My family's bills, and then my parents' bills. See, for the last few years, I'd been paying their rent, $950 a month, every single month, plus groceries here and there, random emergencies, you name it. They never asked in some dramatic way. It just started after they fell behind once. And like an idiot, I stepped in. After that, it just became my problem permanently. So between my own mortgage, utilities, kid stuff, and then covering them, that month I was already stretched like a rubber band. I figured asking my parents for $200 this one time wasn't the end of the world. I mean, I've literally kept their roof over their heads for 3 years. I call my dad, tell him the situation. I wasn't begging, just explaining. My son just had surgery, insurance didn't cover everything, and I needed a couple hundred to close it out. My dad goes quiet, then sighs and says, "Money's tight right now, son. We're barely keeping up as it is." I thought he was joking at first. Tight? On their end? I'm the one paying their damn rent. I didn't say that out loud, though. I swallowed it. He sounded tired, like the world was on his shoulders. I figured maybe I caught him at a bad time. Later, I get a text from my mom. Just a simple, "I'm so sorry, we just can't right now." That was it. No offer to figure something out, no promise to try later. Just can't. So, me and my wife scraped it together. I pulled from savings I didn't really have, juggled some bills, made it work. That's what you do when you're the dad. You don't get the luxury of collapsing. You figure it out. A few days go by, my kid's recovering well, eating popsicles and watching cartoons like he's on vacation, which was honestly a relief. I'm sitting on the couch scrolling on my phone while he's napping. Out of habit, I open Facebook, and there it is. My sister's page, blowing up with photos and live streams. Balloons, a new bike for one of her twins, giant stack of presents on the table. My parents are in half the pictures. My dad's grinning, holding up some toy like he bought it. My mom's in the background decorating cupcakes. Somebody comments, "Best grandparents ever," with a bunch of heart emojis. I just stared at the screen, scrolled through photo after photo. New clothes, toys, even a damn bounce house in the backyard. Couldn't help myself. I checked the timestamp. Posted the same weekend I was asking them for $200. My chest felt like it cracked open. Not because of the money, I handled that, but because they didn't even hesitate to lie. To me, to their grandson, who just went through surgery. They had money, they just didn't have it for us. Later that day, my son shuffles over while I'm on my phone. He glances at the screen, sees one of the pictures of my parents at my sister's house. He asks, "Is that grandma and grandpa?" I tell him, yeah. He goes quiet for a bit, then asks in this small voice, "How come they help my cousins but not me?" I didn't know what to say. I just locked the phone and set it down like it was burning my hand. I told him not to worry about it, that me and mom got him, and that's all that mattered. He nodded, but the look in his eyes stuck with me. Kids aren't dumb. They notice who shows up for them and who doesn't. That night, I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about every single bill I'd covered for my parents. Every grocery run. Every emergency where I was the safety net. And here I was, struggling to scrape together $200 after my kid had surgery, while they're out there playing perfect grandparents for my sister's kids. It wasn't the first time I'd felt the favoritism, but it was the first time it felt like a brick to the face. Like, they'll let me drown to keep her floating. And for the first time, I thought, what the hell am I doing? That thought sat in my head, like an engine that wouldn't shut off. Every time I looked at my kid limping around the living room with his little hospital bracelet still on, it got louder. Every time I paid a bill that wasn't mine, it got louder. I couldn't let it sit anymore. So 2 days later, I drove over to my parents' place. I didn't even tell my wife I was going. I knew she'd try to talk me out of it, and maybe she'd be right, but I couldn't swallow it down anymore. Their house looked the same as always. Curtains drawn, porch light still busted, the faded welcome mat that's probably older than me. My dad's old truck was in the driveway, so I knew they were home. I parked, sat there for a second, and felt my chest tighten. Not nerves exactly, more like pressure. I knocked. My mom answered, surprised but not exactly happy. "Oh, hey, you didn't tell us you were coming?" "Yeah," I said, walking past her into the living room. "We need to talk." My dad was in his recliner, TV on low, some news channel droning in the background. He muted it when he saw me. He didn't look worried, just annoyed, like I was interrupting his afternoon nap. I didn't bother with small talk. "Why did you lie to me?" They both looked confused, or pretended to. My mom tilted her head. "What are you talking about?" "The $200, I said. "I asked for help with the hospital bill. You told me you didn't have it. Then 2 days later, you're at my sister's house throwing a circus for her kids. Bounce house, new bikes, gifts stacked higher than the table. I saw the pictures, so don't tell me you didn't have it." My dad leaned back in his chair like I'd just said the dumbest thing in the world. "Son, you've got a good job. You make more than enough to cover your kids' bills." "That's not the point," I snapped. "I was short that month because I've been paying your bills. For years. $950 every month on top of everything else. And the one time I ask for help, you say no, but then go blow money on the twins? How the hell is that fair?" He rubbed his jaw and smirked. "Why should we help when you can afford it? You've always figured things out. You always land on your feet." I felt my blood pressure spike. "So because I can handle it, you don't have to? That's your logic?" My mom crossed her arms and jumped in. "Just because you've been paying our bills doesn't mean we're entitled to always help you. Family isn't about keeping score." I laughed, but it wasn't a funny kind of laugh, more like disbelief. "Not about keeping score? Do you even hear yourselves? You've been taking from me nonstop. Rent, groceries, car repairs, emergency dental work for dad. And not once did I complain. Not once did I throw it in your face. And the first time I need a little help, you couldn't even be bothered." My dad sat forward, jabbing his finger at me. "Don't twist this around. We've made sacrifices too. We raised you. We kept a roof over your head. That wasn't free. You act like you owe us nothing. That was your job," I shot back. "I didn't ask to be born. Raising me was your responsibility, not some debt I'm supposed to repay until I die." My mom shook her head, her face tightening. "You've always been so ungrateful. Your sister appreciates things. She needs more help. She's not as stable as you. That's why we step in more with her. We're just balancing things out." That right there was the nail in the coffin. Balancing things out. Like me being responsible was some kind of punishment. Like being reliable meant I deserved less. "So let me get this straight," I said slowly, making sure they heard every word. "Because I've been stable, because I never asked for much, you decided it was fine to take from me and give to her. You call that balancing? I call that favoritism." Neither of them spoke. My dad just shifted in his chair, looking anywhere but at me. My mom busied herself straightening a pile of magazines on the coffee table, like she hadn't heard a word. I stood up. "You know what? Keep your excuses. I'm done covering for you. Rent, groceries, all of it. It stops now. If you can afford bounce houses and cupcakes for her kids, you can figure out your own bills." My mom's mouth dropped open. "You can't just cut us off like that. We're your parents." "Yes, I can," I said. "And I just did." My dad glared at me, his jaw tightening. "You're making a mistake. Family doesn't walk away over something this petty." "Petty?" I said. "My son had surgery. He was lying in a hospital bed, and you told me you couldn't help, then turned around and threw a party like it was nothing. That's not petty. That's who you are." For a second, the room was dead quiet except for the ticking of the old wall clock. Then my mom muttered, "One day you'll regret this." I didn't bother answering. I walked out, slammed the door harder than I meant to, and got in my car. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from clarity. For the first time in years, I knew exactly where I stood, and it wasn't with them. I drove home that day with my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles hurt. The whole drive, my brain kept replaying my dad's voice. "Why should we help when you can afford it?" Like the words were on a loop. I'd always known they treated me differently than my sister, But hearing it spelled out that way, that they felt entitled to everything I provided but owed me nothing, it hit different. By the time I got home, I'd already made up my mind. No more half measures. No more waiting for them to change. I sat down at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and pulled up the email thread with their landlord. For 3 years, like clockwork, I'd been sending him $950 on the first of the month. Sometimes earlier if payday landed right. My parents never once talked to him because I was basically their tenant by proxy. I clicked compose and typed subject, rent payments. From this month forward, please consider my previous contributions ended. Any future rent matters should be discussed directly with the tenants, my parents. I will not be responsible for this lease going forward. I attached the last receipt for good measure. No explanation, no drama, just facts. I hit send, closed the laptop, and sat there staring at the wall for a while. My wife walked in. "What did you do?" she asked, like she could see it on my face. "I pulled the plug," I said. She didn't ask what that meant. She just nodded. We'd been having silent conversations like that for years, her eyes saying, "Why do you keep doing this?" And mine saying, "Because they're my parents." But this time, for once, she didn't look disappointed. She looked relieved. I thought that would be the end of it. But people like my parents don't go quietly. The next morning, I was in the shower when I heard banging. Not a knock. Banging. Relentless. Sharp. Like someone was trying to break the door down with their fist. I froze for a second, then turned off the water. My wife's voice carried down the hall. "They've been at it for 15 minutes. I stepped into the living room. Sure enough, my phone on the counter was lit up with missed calls. Dad, Mom, even my sister. Back when we first moved in, I'd given my parents an emergency spare key, figuring it'd only ever be used if we locked ourselves out. I'd forgotten all about it, until that moment. The lock rattled, metal scraping, and my stomach flipped. They were actually trying it. I sprinted to the door just as the bolt twisted. The chain lock caught it, jerking the door against the frame with a loud thunk. "Open the door, son!" my dad barked. His voice wasn't pleading. It was commanding, like I was 15 again and late for curfew. "Don't even try it!" I shot back through the crack. There was a pause, then my mom's voice, softer, syrupy. "Honey, we just want to talk. We don't know what's going on. You can't just cut us out like this." My wife appeared beside me, arms crossed, jaw clenched. She didn't say anything, just stood there like a wall between me and them. I flipped the chain and cracked the door just enough to see their faces. My dad was as red as a cherry tomato, sweat beading on his forehead. My mom was holding a pink pastry box like she thought a dozen donuts was going to fix this. "Why'd you send that email?" my dad demanded. "You trying to embarrass us?" Landlord called this morning. "I'm done paying your rent," I said flatly. "Figure it out yourselves." My mom's lips parted like she'd rehearsed her line. "This is ridiculous. We didn't raise you to be cruel. Family doesn't do this to each other." I laughed once, short and sharp. Family doesn't lie about being broke while throwing parties 2 days after their grandson's surgery. Family doesn't tell me I should just afford it while draining me dry every month. That's not family. That's leeching. My dad stepped closer, lowering his voice like it would make him sound wise. "You're making a mistake. We sacrificed plenty for you. This is how life works. Parents help kids, then kids help parents. That's the cycle. You cutting us off like this? It's spitting in our faces." I shook my head. "You didn't just ask for help. You made it permanent. And when I needed help for once and for a stupid amount of money, you chose her. Don't twist this. I'm not spitting in your face. I'm finally taking my boot off your neck." My mom scoffed, clutching the pastry box tighter. "You're being dramatic. We never asked for handouts. You chose to help." "Yeah," I said. "And now I'm choosing to stop." For a second, they just stood there. I think they expected me to cave, like always. To sigh, apologize, and promise I'd keep things going until they got back on their feet. But there was no coming back from this. My dad's jaw worked like he wanted to say something cutting, but nothing came out. My mom muttered, "This isn't over," under her breath. "It is for me," I said, and shut the door in their faces. The banging didn't start again. A minute later, I heard their car door slam, then the engine fade down the street. Inside, my wife finally exhaled. "They're not going to stop," she said quietly. "I know," I said, "but neither am I." For the first time in years, I actually meant it. I thought the silence after they drove away would last a while, maybe a week of cold shoulders, then a half-hearted call from my mom, some guilt sprinkled in, and they'd try to worm their way back. Instead, it took less than 24 hours for everything to blow up. It started with my sister. She put up a Facebook post, long, dramatic, and dripping with fake wisdom, about how some people forget where they came from, and money doesn't buy class. No names, of course, but everyone knew who she was aiming at. She even threw in a line about how she was blessed to have parents who understand real family values. The comments rolled in fast. Cousins, old neighbors, even people I hadn't talked to since high school chimed in with the usual garbage. So sad when siblings turn on each other. You're right, girl, some people just can't handle not being the favorite. It was surreal. I'm sitting there at my kitchen table, sipping cold coffee, reading strangers call me bitter because I stopped paying my parents' rent. Meanwhile, my kid's in the living room building a Lego tower, humming to himself like the world's fine. My wife read over my shoulder. "Don't engage," she said. "You'll just feed it." I didn't comment. I didn't even like or dislike anything. But the sting was there. Seeing my name dragged through the mud, all while she got sympathy points, it burned. Then the texts started. First from a cousin in Florida I hadn't heard from in years. "Hey man, I don't know what's going on, but maybe you should apologize. Life's too short." Then an aunt. "This isn't how your mother raised you. You need to make things right before it's too late." Even my uncle's wife got in on it. Disrespecting elders is never the answer. I just muted the group chats. It was like the whole family had been waiting for a chance to jump on me, and now they had it. But here's the thing. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Being angry meant I still cared what they thought. Now I just wanted distance. So I started closing tabs in my life, one by one. First went the shared grocery app we'd been refilling for years. My mom used to add things to the cart. Milk, cereal, random cleaning supplies, and I'd check out without saying a word. That morning, I logged in, deleted their profile, and canceled the autopay. Next was Amazon. My sister had been using my Prime account for ages. Free shipping, movies, the whole deal. I changed the password, logged out every device. I could almost picture her hitting checkout and getting smacked with a login screen. Then Netflix. I scrolled through the profiles. Mine, my wife's, my son's, then theirs. Gone in seconds. Spotify too. All of it. It felt petty at first, but then I realized it wasn't. I'd been financing their comfort on every level. Not just bills. Cutting it off wasn't revenge. It was balance. That same night, my sister went nuclear. Another post, this time tagging me directly, said she no longer had a brother, that she was done trying to include people who only cared about money. She ended it with, "If you can't be happy for us, stay out of our lives." It got almost 100 likes. People I barely knew slapped heart emojis on it like she was some hero for standing up to the evil sibling. I wanted to laugh, but it actually stung more than I expected, because for a split second I believed her, that I really didn't have a sister anymore, that all those years of birthdays, holidays, little favors, they meant nothing. Later that night, I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Old bills, receipts, birthday cards. I found the envelope from when we gave my sister $5,000 for her moving costs, back when she swore she'd pay it back within a year. That was 7 years ago. Still waiting. Then I pulled up a spreadsheet my wife had been keeping. Every dollar we'd poured into my parents' and my sister's family. Rent, groceries, repairs, gifts. Over $35,000. Quietly siphoned out of my life. No thank yous, no repayment. Just expectations. Looking at that number, it didn't make me sad. It didn't even make me mad. It made me clear. I wasn't just cutting them off, I was breaking a cycle. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had leverage. Not because I wanted to use it against them, but because I realized they only had power over me as long as I kept giving it to them. The next morning, I woke up to 23 notifications. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't answer any of them. I sat at the table, packed my son's lunch, and slipped in an extra bag of pretzels because he'd asked for them the night before. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from my mom. It said, "Your sister is devastated. Her boys are confused. You really hurt this family." I read it twice, then set the phone down. My kid came in, backpack too big for his shoulders, and smiled at the pretzels like I'd just given him gold. That's when it hit me. I didn't hurt my family. I just stopped letting them hurt mine, and I wasn't turning back. That's when the phone rang. Not my mom, not my sister. This time it was Grandpa. The one guy in the family I still respected. He never got involved in their petty nonsense, never took sides in the constant drama. When I saw his name pop up, I almost didn't answer, because I wasn't sure if I had the energy left for another lecture. But something told me I should. "Hey son," he said, his voice low and steady like always. "We need to talk. Come by the house tomorrow. No explanation, no details. Just that." I told my wife later, and she raised an eyebrow. You think he's trying to make peace? Maybe, I said. He's old school. He doesn't like this kind of family mess. Maybe he wants us to sit down and fix it. So the next day, I drove over to his place. He lives in the same house he's had for decades. Small brick place with the same creaky porch swing I used to sit on as a kid. For a second, standing there, I felt like maybe this was the moment everything turned around. I knocked, and he called out, "It's open." Inside, he was already sitting in his armchair, TV muted, a glass of water on the side table. He didn't look happy to see me. No smile, no warmth, just serious eyes. "Sit down," he said. I sat across from him. The silence stretched. Then he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Your parents told me everything," he said. Something in my stomach twisted. "Everything about what?" He cleared his throat. "About how you've been stealing from them, how you've been draining them dry for years, taking their money, and then abandoning them when they needed you most." It felt like the air got sucked out of the room. I blinked at him, sure I'd misheard. "Stealing? That's what they told me," he said firmly. "That you've been dipping into their accounts, taking money for yourself, and when they confronted you, you cut them off. That's why I called you here. A man who steals from his own parents. I can't respect that." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They didn't just twist the story. They flipped it upside down and dumped it on my head. "You can't be serious," I said slowly. "You actually believe that?" He didn't flinch. "I raised your father better than this. If he tells me you've been stealing from them, I have to take that seriously. And because of this, I've decided to cut you out of the will. A thief doesn't deserve a share of this family's legacy." I sat there stunned. It wasn't about the money. I don't care about whatever he leaves behind. It was about hearing my own parents drag my name through the mud to the one man who thought I was solid, the one person who'd always treated me like I had sense. I could have exploded right there. Yelled, stormed out, cursed them all. But I didn't. I sat back, pulled my phone from my pocket, and opened my files. "Let me show you something," I said, my voice steady. He frowned. "What is this?" I handed him the phone. Receipts, bank transfers. Every single rent check I've sent to their landlord for the last 3 years. $950, month after month. Grocery app history, car repair bills, even the Christmas where I covered gifts for the twins. You want to know who's been draining who? Here's the truth. He started scrolling. His eyes narrowed, moving line by line. Payment confirmations, email chains, screenshots of statements. My wife had been meticulous in keeping records, and now it was paying off. After a few minutes, he stopped. His face had changed. Less anger, more shock. "You paid all this?" he asked quietly. "Every dime," I said. Not once did I ask for thanks. Not once did I throw it in their faces. And the one time I asked for $200 to help with my son's hospital bill, they told me money was too tight. Then they went and threw a party for my sister's kids. That's what really happened. He set the phone down on the table slowly. The room was dead silent, except for the old wall clock ticking. "They told me you were stealing," he said again. Softer this time. I leaned forward. "No, Grandpa. I wasn't stealing. I was keeping them afloat. And they repaid me by calling me a thief." For the first time since I'd walked in, he didn't look so sure of himself. He rubbed his forehead, staring at the phone like it had betrayed him. "I don't care about the will," I said, standing. "Keep it. Burn it. Give it all to her. I don't care. But don't you ever call me a thief again. I've spent years being the only one responsible in this family, and if that makes me the villain in their story, so be it. But at least I know the truth." I walked toward the door. My legs felt heavy, but my chest felt lighter than it had in weeks. I figured that was the end of it. Grandpa had seen the receipts, I'd said my piece, and I didn't care if he believed me or not. But 2 days later, my phone rang again. Same number. Same steady voice. "Come back to the house tomorrow," he said. My stomach tightened. This wasn't how he usually operated. He wasn't a family meeting guy. If he wanted to talk, he talked. If he wanted to scold, he scolded. So this felt different. When I told my wife, she gave me that look, the one that asked without words if I was really going to walk into the lion's den again. "What if it's a trap?" she asked. "Then it's a trap," I said. "But at least I'll know." The next day, I pulled into Grandpa's driveway and saw my parents' car already there. My sister's too. Great. Full circus. Inside, they were already sitting on the couch, whispering to each other with smug little grins, like they were waiting for the show to start. My mom looked at me like she'd already won. My dad just smirked. My sister didn't bother hiding her satisfaction. Grandpa was in his chair, same as before. But this time, there was a folder sitting on the table in front of him. A fat one. He waited until I sat down, then looked around the room. You all wanted to play games, he said, voice sharp. So let's play. My mom straightened up, ready for him to lay into me. My dad folded his arms like a judge about to pass sentence. My sister leaned forward, practically vibrating with anticipation. Grandpa opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. He dropped them on the table with a thud. These, he said, are your son's receipts. The room went dead silent. He flipped one toward my dad. Rent payments. Month after month. He slid another toward my mom. Grocery bills. Another toward my sister. Car repairs. Birthday gifts. All of it. For years. Their faces changed in real time. Smug to confused to pale. My dad tried to laugh it off. That doesn't prove anything. He could have faked those. Grandpa snapped his head up. Faked! I called the landlord myself. He confirmed it. Every check came from your boy here. Not from you, from him. My mom opened her mouth, but he cut her off before she could make a sound. And you had the gall to tell me he was stealing from you? You lied to my face. Lied about your own son. My sister jumped in then, voice high and desperate. He's manipulating you! You don't know the full story. He probably twisted it. Grandpa's palm slammed against the table so hard the glasses rattled. Enough. I'm not blind, and I'm not senile. You've been bleeding him dry while running around telling anyone who'll listen that he's the problem. I've had it. Then he dropped the real bomb. I've been helping you too, he said, glaring at my parents. Loaning you money, paying off little debts here and there. Quietly, because I thought maybe you just needed a hand. But I see now it wasn't help. It was enabling. And it ends today. The color drained from my mom's face. My dad leaned forward, trying to salvage control. Dad, you can't just cut us off like that. We're family. You've got the money. It's not hurting you. Grandpa stood, slow but steady. No. What hurts is seeing my own son raise leeches instead of a family. You've lied, you've taken advantage, and you've made me ashamed. Then he looked straight at me. From this day forward, your shares in my will, they're his. He pointed right at me. Every dollar that was supposed to go to you, every piece of property, you won't see a dime. And I'll be calling my lawyer in the morning to make it official. It goes to the only one in this room who's proven he deserves it. The silence after that was deafening. My sister's mouth fell open. My mom whispered, You can't be serious. I've never been more serious, Grandpa said. That's when the meltdown started. My sister shot up off the couch, pointing at me. You did this. You manipulated him. You showed him your little fake files and tricked him into turning on us. You're disgusting. I stayed quiet. I didn't need to defend myself anymore. My dad's voice shook with anger. After everything we've done for you, Dad, you're going to throw us away for him? For the ungrateful one? Grandpa barked out a laugh. Ungrateful? He's the only one who's given without taking. The only one who didn't come crawling to me with his hand out. You call that ungrateful? I call it backbone. My mom tried one last play, tears streaming now. Please, Dad, don't do this. We're your children. Blood comes first. Then act like it, Grandpa snapped, because right now, you're strangers to me. He pointed to the door. Get out, all of you. They froze. He raised his voice louder than I'd ever heard from him. Out! My sister muttered something about me ruining everything as she stormed past me. My dad wouldn't look me in the eye. My mom gave me a glare so sharp it could have cut glass. The door slammed behind them, and for the first time in years, the house was quiet. Grandpa sank back into his chair, rubbing his temples. He looked tired but clear. They'll blame you for this, he said. They'll say you poisoned me against them. But don't let it eat you alive. You showed me the truth, and I won't forget it. I nodded, not really knowing what to say. For the first time, I didn't feel like the family screw-up. I felt like the only adult in the room. Driving home that day, I didn't even blast music or make a victory speech to myself in the car. I just sat there in silence, hands on the wheel, letting it all settle in. For once, I wasn't the one being accused, guilt-tripped, or cornered. I'd walked in with nothing but the truth, and it had been enough. Grandpa saw it, and now my parents and sister had to live with the fallout. And boy, did they. The first ripple came 3 days later. My dad called me. Not the usual barking, not anger. This time, it was his reasonable voice, the one he used when he wanted something. I let it ring out, then checked the voicemail later. Son, look, things got heated. Your mom's upset. Your sister's upset. I know Dad said some things, but maybe you can talk to him? Convince him to give us another chance? He doesn't really mean it. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. They still thought I was the middleman, the fixer, the guy who smoothed things over. They hadn't realized the role was retired. Permanently. A week later, I heard from my aunt. Apparently, Grandpa wasn't bluffing. He called the lawyer and updated the will. Their shares, every cent, every asset, were moved to my name. And the help he'd been slipping them behind the scenes? Cut off. The panic started showing fast. My sister posted vague, depressing Facebook statuses about fake people and family betrayal. My mom texted me walls of guilt-ridden paragraphs about how the boys don't understand why their uncle hates them. My dad sent one final message. "You'll regret this when we're gone." I didn't reply to any of it. Meanwhile, I started noticing their downfall piece by piece. Even though I'd told him to deal directly with my parents, the landlord still had me saved as the point of contact. Out of habit, he forwarded me a copy of their past due notice. Eviction threats. Not my problem anymore. My sister? She started asking around for money. Mutual friends, cousins, even old co-workers. People sent me screenshots. "Hey, do you think I could borrow $500 until payday?" Always the same promise. "I'll pay you back soon." But everyone who knew her knew that meant never. That was when it finally hit me. I didn't need to fight anymore. The war was over. They were spiraling all on their own. At home, life felt lighter. My son was back to his normal self, healed up from his surgery, running around the yard with his friends. My wife smiled more, laughed easier, like the tension we'd been living under for years had finally lifted. One Saturday, while my son was building a Lego spaceship on the living room rug, he looked up and asked, "Are Grandma and Grandpa still mad at you?" I thought about lying, softening it, but then I realized he deserved the truth. "Yeah," I said, "they are, but that's their problem, not ours." He nodded like he got it, then went back to his Legos. Simple as that. A month after the will was changed, my sister tried calling me directly. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, her voice cracking between rage and desperation. "I hope you're happy. You stole everything from us. You turned Grandpa against his own kids. I don't know how you sleep at night." I deleted it without listening to the rest. Here's the thing. I did sleep. Better than I had in years. Grandpa called me again a few weeks later. He didn't talk about wills or money. He just asked how my boy was doing. Asked if we wanted to come by for dinner. It was the most normal conversation we'd had in years. When we hung up, I sat on the porch with my wife, coffee in hand, and told her, "You know what feels weird? Peace. Just plain peace." She smiled. "Get used to it." So I did. I used to think I was the weak one for never standing up. Turns out, I was the strongest all along, because I finally stood my ground, and when I did, the whole rotten structure collapsed without me. And honestly, watching it fall, knowing I didn't have to lift a finger, that was better than any revenge I could have planned. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.